Hello everyone, we are from Group 12 in Quantitative Research, consisting of myself, Bhagas, Rafa, and Azka. We will talk and elaborate more on the topic about correlational design. Definition: correlational research design. It means that measures the relationship between two or more variables, and it can reflect the direction and relationship between the two or more variables. Now is the example of direction in correlational design. First is the positive correlation. The variables change in the same direction. For example, like as height increase, weight also increase. Next is the negative correlation. The variables change in the opposite direction. Like as sugar consumption increase, the diabetes decrease. And last, zero correlation. No, it means like no relationship between the variables. Like the consumption is not correlated with height.
So there are a couple of characteristics to the correlation design. First one is non-experimental, meaning the researchers does not need to manipulate variables with a scientific methodology to either agree or disagree with a hypothesis. The second one is backward-looking, which the research only looks back at historical data and observes events that are in the past. And lastly, being dynamic, which the patterns between two variables from correlational research are never constant and are always changing. The aim of this study is to identify variables that have some sort of relationship to the extent that a change in one creates some change in the other. And also, this type of research is descriptive, which is unlike experimental research that relies entirely on scientific methodology and hypothesis.
So, after understanding the purpose of correlational design, it is important for us to understand it in a real life context, which is why we selected this research study entitled Academic Misconduct Among Teacher Education Students, a Descriptive Correlational Study, which was written by Daniel, Blount, and Farrell. So, the aim of the study was to determine the extent to which teacher education students perceive their student peers to engage in various forms of academic misconducts which are reported. So, basically, it determines whether things like cheating in a school setting is normalized using correlational data based on perception. So, following with the characteristics of correlational study, the concepts derived from the study is derived from a series of previous studies in the same field, and the data. So it basically identifies the correlation between variables that is perceived to have a relationship with one another. So the data gathered using the data is gathered using a set of anonymous questionnaires, which is utilizing a correlational approach using a 5-point Likert scale, which is ranging from seldom or never occurs, which is 1 point, to frequently occurs, which is 5 points. So the interpreted data of frequency of various types of academic misconducts is further analyzed using descriptive statistics, and it evaluates two statements, which is one, correlation between frequency of misconducts and neutralization over behavior. So neutralization in this case is basically the act of normalizing, making things of the ordinary, and correlation between maturity and likelihood of misconduct is, it can be interpreted as their age and how they approach things. So from the results derived using the matrix scale and eigenvalues, which is a special set of scales that is associated with the linear system of equations. In this case, they are using the matrix equation, and it's also known to be a characteristic of roots and values. It can be concluded that the correlation of the previous statements is that those who perform misconducts have the tendency to neutralize their behavior. So they're basically normally people who perform actions like cheating are neutralizing it by normalizing their behavior, by not making it a big deal or finding excuses as to why they are cheating. So, for example, they can find examples like the test maybe was hard, a lot of people was doing it, so things like that. And the second statement, which is age or level of maturity, was also correlated to the frequency of performing misconducts, as it was perceived through the questionnaires that students who were younger were perceived to be more likely to cheat as they are less mature. So that is it for our presentation. Thank you very much for listening.